Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the grounds with Giles, Jones, Slagle, and Cappuccino today.
Well,
It's a rainy Friday.
Hey, we should have that's cappuccino.
Right. Oh, Jesus, cappuccino. I'm having tea. Oh, that's funny. Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys, and spending time with us today. We're going for Nerd Culture 2 because last week's conversation was it was a great conversation. It was not something, and it went places that I didn't think it was going. I absolutely loved it. So we're going to hit that back up today and kind of keep going because if you notice here, I got a little lunchbox that,
Oh yeah,
kind of says my nerdism.
That's it. Listen,
his wife packed his lunch today.
Hey,
tomato sandwich with the crust cut off. That's the only way he eats it.
Kid, didn't you? You had one of these in the kid. I mean, that was the bomb back when we were kids.
Mine
getting a
Hot Wheels.
lunchbox. Now it's like I need an iPhone, 88,
right?
Instead of a nice lunchbox. I was just happy with a Superman lunchbox.
My lunchbox.
Dukes of Hazzard.
My lunchbox had a spot. It was a Hot Wheels. It had a little clear window where you could put your favorite Hot Wheel in there. And it would like display it while you're eating lunch. You flip that top up, your Hot Wheels is sitting in there. You'd be like, "Yeah, I'm eating my lunch."
Dude, I've never seen that one.
Oh, I'm sorry, the '63 Corvette in the window. Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah,
right.
You're sporting it.
Oh my God, I've never seen that lunchbox. That thing's got to be worth some coin.
Mismatched. I had Dukes of Hazzard lunchbox and a Thundercat thermos.
Yeah. Before we get into lunchboxes, how about those partners, huh, Kent?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, let's give a shout out to our good friends over at Natural Therapy Wellness Center. They have been with us since day one here at 216 Creator Studios. So listen, if you, hey, it's a long weekend. Nothing better than to go get yourself a nice deep tissue massage from John and his crew over there. Check them out at www.mchenrymassage.com or give them a call at 815-385-8190, and they'll take good care of you. Also, nothing says Labor Day better than a $5 bouquet of flowers over at JH Events and Flowers. Check them out at jheventsandflowers.com. You got a wedding? Get flowers. They did my daughter's wedding a year ago. Absolutely awesome. Phenomenal job. If you've got a special, are you burying somebody? Great graveside flowers as well.
I think they want it better than a $5 bouquet for burying, though.
Yep.
You got to kind of have to buy a few of those.
Yeah, you might have to buy a few of those. But it is. We thank both of them. Absolutely great nerds that hang out with us.
Yeah, and JH Flower and Events has two locations, one in McHenry on Green and
right
Charles J. Miller there,
yep.
and then Fox Lake right across from the train station. So guys, stop in, check them out. Great small businesses, support local, keep going.
Yep. Well, and check it out, man. If you like the grounds, go to the YouTube channel, check out the old Google box there.
Yep.
Click on 216 Creator Studios, hit that live tab. Like, share, subscribe, smash that bell for future notifications. We do appreciate the sponsorships. We do appreciate the watchers. Check out our new website, 216creatorstudios.com.
Yeah, that's awesome. Of course, Mary, being a food nerd.
I love that.
Being a food nerd, says, I thought you said deep dish and massage. Pizza.
Be a little filling.
And a back rub. Hey, that's a business model right there.
A Zana rub.
I don't know if I could eat.
I don't know
if
that would go
rub
over
me down. I get the rub and then have a pizza.
I think Natural Therapy Massage and Jexels need to power partner on this
There
one.
you go. There you go. And Jexels, please send your check.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Zan rub. Nice.
You ever have a hot stone pizza with a hot stone massage? It's great.
Hey, since we're nerding out a little bit, I watched Deadpool last night.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I'm going Tuesday.
Oh,
And this is Deadpool versus Wolverine.
No, it's Deadpool.
the original.
And Wolverine.
Yeah, and Wolverine.
Oh, okay, the new one.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
There's I have to see it again because there's so much that I think I missed.
No, even in the
Just
previews, I saw so many references to the comic books and to the staying true to the comic book storyline for it. I actually couldn't believe it. I was like, I am so excited to see this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't like a huge fan of the previous Deadpool movies. I didn't dislike them.
Yeah.
They were okay. This one, I'm really excited.
So just a quick little tidbit. Of course, you want to be part of the show. Put that Uncle Pete's right down there in the corner. Put that URL right into your URL.
Nerd.
Nerd.
Let me help you out there, sir.
Nerd.
Wow.
And then
It's the start of the morning.
But here's a little known fact. Deadpool was absolutely Uncle Pete's favorite. He had Deadpool stickers on his car.
He was a big fan.
That's why Deadpool's in the other studio.
That's awesome.
Yep,
He's a
that's-
Deadpool
I was
guy,
wondering
huh?
where that came from. I'm like, where did
Nice.
that come from?
That's Uncle Pete. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it, man.
But no, the fact that they came back and they did the Deadpool, they referenced the Deadpool that they did in X-Men Origins Wolverine, the really horrible Ryan Reynolds Deadpool that they did in the X-Men, in the first X-Men Origins movie. That was the fact that they called that back for the new movie, and then they're like, "Oh, that's a separate universe where everyone dies and everyone sucks."
Yeah.
And I was like, "That is hysterical.
Yeah.
That's hysterical." They're just
Well,
they
I brought
just denigrated that movie like it never existed.
Yeah, I brought the family, and so I'm sitting next to my wife, and we're watching this, and Hugh Jackman. I don't even know where this guy comes from. He's 60 years old, and he is just ripped.
Mhm.
And so there's a
Mhm.
scene where it's all abs and muscles, and I looked over at my wife, and I was like trying to shut her mouth, and like, boop, and I'm like, there goes my chances for tonight.
No.
I mean. Holy crap, Hugh! You are awesome. I guess they filmed that, and it was right through the COVID period where, when they were shut down for a second, they had to keep those physiques for X amount of time, and I'm sure it was torture.
Well, you know
that's-
that women prefer dad bods than a guy ripped like that.
That's what,
Maybe your
that's what
wife was
anybody
just
with a
hungry.
dad
Put
bod
me in,
says.
coach.
Maybe
Yeah.
I was gonna
I'm
say
a
maybe your
dad
wife
bod.
was just hungry because you got the dad.
I'm
bod.
a dad bod plus, baby.
Yeah, your wife always prefers the dad bod until you get in shape, and
Until she sees Hugh Jackman as
then
Wolverine.
then she knows she's safe. No one's gonna mess with you.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a dad bod. Nobody wants him.
So a quick nerd review. Awesome. I don't want to spoil it too much for anybody, but it's definitely a must watch.
Awesome.
If you're a nerd and you're into the comics, that's a must go see.
Actually, I mean,
That's
until
what I
last week
heard.
I didn't really consider myself a nerd.
We're
per
part of
se,
the club now.
But I think I'm part of the club.
You are.
Obviously, definitely looking at things. But
Yeah.
mean, I don't even think you need to be a nerd. I mean, I've watched the original Deadpools, and I just thought they were funny as shit.
Yeah. No,
You know what I mean?
that
And
was the
for
whole
me-
purpose of them.
And for me, most of the movies I want to watch are funny, right?
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to spend time invested in, it's either going to be documentary, something funny as hell.
I think we should do a on that Cobra outside that you brought today. We should do a Deadpool logo right on the hood.
It could
Oh,
use
yeah.
it. It's all checked up.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
getting old. So yeah, let's do it. little removal and 216 right on the back. Deadpool ripping by.
Maximum effort on your life.
but as
Maximum effort.
as a nerd, I could say that is the one thing I do appreciate about Marvel and all of the Marvel Joss Whedon films, Sam Raimi films. There's a certain level of humor.
Yeah.
I like a good comedy. I like any movie. It doesn't matter what the movie is, especially even in my superhero movies. If I'm watching a comic book hero movie, I'd like it to have a certain level of humor.
Right.
DC, they've been taking themselves so seriously for so long that they don't know what a sense of humor is. They forgot. They've been walking around growling, "I'm Batman," for so long
Yeah.
that they forgot
That's really funny.
they forgot
I'm
true.
Batman.
Well, they forgot how to tell a joke, and then they had Joss Whedon, who famously directed most of the Marvel movies, a good portion of the Marvel movies. Great sense of humor, really funny guy. He came in and did the Justice League movie.
Yep.
When Zack Snyder had family engagements, his wife had cancer or something, he had to step back. He came in and he made a movie filled with jokes, and it was a great movie. Zack Snyder came back in. He's like, "What are all these jokes in my movie? Let me cut all these out, make the movie 3 times as long, put it in black and white because that's the tone." And it's like, that's not the tone.
Well,
It's
you
not.
got
It's
this
way
dial-
too serious. Nobody
He's
wants
got
to
this
watch that.
dialed in. You must be a super nerd.
Oh yeah.
I'm
oh,
just
yeah.
a nerd.
I'm a
You must be
Zach
super
fan
nerd.
though. I mean, they better. I think he made it a little better because they were roughing it. They're trying to battle it out with Marvel, and you can't do that.
No, they were trying
Instead
to
of
go
being
toe to toe.
themselves.
Yeah, Warner Brothers really was trying to tie that one on.
So
hard,
just
but-
so the rest of the audience who don't relate to the comic books, we just had to throw out our 2 bits of that nerd segment. But
Right.
I got a lot of feedback on the last show, and it was, it wasn't what they thought it would be.
Mhm.
They thought it was going to be this, right?
Right.
Star Trek episode 34, right? No.
Remember that first pocket protector? I
Nerd,
got?
right?
You
Nerd
had
culture, and we want to explain nerd culture. Are you a nerd? You could be a nerd. It's about whatever you're passionate about. Quick review to that. But I want to say now we're talking about being a nerd and being bullied, right? So
And that's the thing for me honestly, until kind of last week and during the week, more thinking about it, going, you were getting teased. They were calling you a nerd, and it was, something that you took as a negative.
correct.
Right? If you really look at the definition and what, nerds are today, I'd almost think I would look at it as a compliment. I wish I had
A lot of people
been able
would
to view
do,
that
yeah.
in that way back in my head back in the day, right? Because really any name you got called, you always kind of read into it. At least I did. Right?
Yeah.
So being called a nerd, which, would hurt because you're like, what's wrong with me? Well, no, it's what's right with me. And people are teasing you and picking on you because I'm going to say the word better than them or different, but the passion for the things that you wanted to do instead of the floating or the waffling with, most kids not having any idea what they are, what they want to do, and just following in groups, right? And finding their cliques to hang out with. So for me, it's like, shit, had I known that a nerd was actually someone you'd almost say that they're almost scared of you, right? Or threatened by you because you are intelligent or because you do have passion.
That's really what it is. It's somebody
mean?
without passion. They see how passionate you are about any interest that you have. And it's like, well, we're too cool to care about things. Like, how dare you?
Yeah, like why would you waste your time on that? Well, because I like it.
So last week while we were sitting here, I think the reason that we started the part 2, I actually had quoted something Kent has said previously. Kent, you weren't here last week, but I had said that everybody's been the bully and everyone has been bullied, which is something that Kent has said previously. And then Drew, you really resonated with that because you had a lot to say about bullies specifically.
Oh, I hate bullies.
Yeah, I picked up on that.
Well, right. And, the thing that sucks about bullies is, after you get to know them, you understand the reasoning behind it because they are so insecure and, unsure of themselves. But once again, as a kid, you don't know. You think this bully is like the badass, got everything together. And what's wrong with me? So what do you do? You start internalizing shit.
Intimidation and fear. People utilize that because they're insecure. So they would rather be feared than liked because they're afraid of being who they are.
Right. And that for me,
getting a little feedback, man.
Yeah. And that for me is like one of the things like Kent and I would go back and forth a lot about being taught in school. Right. And his comment, which is totally right. But at first I looked at him like, you're an idiot. He's like, it starts at home and then the school is supposed to expound upon it.
Correct.
Right. In certain areas. And I'm like, well, right. But, for me with math, trying to teach my kids math, other than add, subtract, multiply, divide, I'm lost. You know what I mean? But with that is so true. And it'd be nice if that thought process, maybe I guess would be taught or at least discussed in school, because I think that is a major factor. At least I feel it's a major factor in any person's development, right? Because if they're not understanding why things are happening to them or that it's a normal thing, but you just feel alienated because it's just to you. That's very hard for people. I know for me, what it was. But back then I didn't know and I didn't want to talk about it. But if it's something that you can put in the air and just make it a common subject, it's just like, hey, when you get older, you grow hair, those type of things. These are what's going to happen to you. And this is why most people don't know it. So you're going, I'm alone, right? I'm the only one. You become more of a nerd, or you become more sucked into yourself, right?
Well,
because
the reason
you're worried about that.
I can see that.
The reason for the more prominent nerd culture this day and age is because of a shift that we've seen. So when you were in school, right, the cool kids were the ones that picked on people, right? They had the popularity. People would listen to them. They'd be like, oh, listen to him. He's ragging on the nerds. Like, that was the cool kid. Sometime over the last 20 plus years, the cool kids were no longer the bullies. Kids have been taught for 20, 30 years now against bullying. So there are still bullies, but they're not the cooler kids. They're not the popular people. Those people, I think, have a different set of morals and ethics because of all the anti-bullying culture. It's no longer the cool thing. You're kind of a jackass now in schools if you are a bully.
Right.
So Don says that I agree that many bullies have insecurity issues and we should try to help. However, let's not let them off the hook. They are many times just mean.
Right. So he's let them off the hook. Don forgot
That's
his
right.
H for help. His H for help fell off.
Thanks
Okay,
for
so
being
that
thanks for
should've-
being the
that-
bully, Scott.
That should have said that should have said Scott, not Kent. And you
Right.
need an edit function here. Okay, so I now here's what I'm saying is bullying is not good, but you have to understand since the time that man was put on this blue marble, the strong survive.
Mhm.
It's still a pecking order. It doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
And if I'm strong and I can have dominance over you, listen, it's still today. The world, wars, things of that nature, right? It happens. Okay. The unfortunate thing is we as parents haven't taught our kids how to deal with it, or we don't take enough time to sit and talk with our child who's being bullied to understand, oh, hey, you know what, Drew, you got to get through it. It's part of life. I don't have time to talk about this now, right? And it's really our kids reaching out to us saying, hey, I need some help here, right? You'll go into schools. Teachers will recognize the kid getting bullied, do nothing about it, and say, no, and if the kid goes up to that teacher and goes, hey, they go, yeah, right. Right now, cyberbullying, quote unquote, is some of the worst. I've had kids who were cyberbullied. We went to the school and said, hey, you have a policy against that. Well, we really don't know who put that. Could not, you know. So a lot of times, the people that have the ability to stop it don't. Right. It's very much like if two kids fight on the playground now. Right. I'm going to watch Drew kill Scott, and I'm filming it on my phone instead of helping or stepping in and saying this isn't right.
That means you have to die too. I
understand. That's an Italian, right? But here's what I'm saying is bullies sometimes aren't mean. Bullies are it's a pecking order. That's it. It's a strong survive. If I run faster than you get eaten by the T-Rex, not me.
Well,
if I push you down so that the T-Rex eats you, not me.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So I understand bullying, and I'm not a proponent for it. But what I'm saying is, we as a society just go, you know what, buddy? Hey, why don't you walk down another hall? Instead of trying to help them understand what is happening. You know, obviously, this other kid's got some issues. She's a bit mean to you, Drew, and you know, or she likes you, or you know, and this is the way that they show.
Some people pay extra for that. So listen,
right?
I think, you know, I think you're on something there, but at the same time, doesn't make it right. Secondly, I do think that even with a pecking order, when someone is weaker, is the one bullying, due to the fact of they're trying to make themselves look more powerful in front of their friends or somebody else, and it's not giving the weak the chance to survive, instead of embracing somebody else to help let them grow. Now, listen, I mean, you were basketball team captain.
I was a kid. I bullied a lot of people, but I had small person syndrome. Right, I was 5 foot when I was a freshman.
Right. Napoleon complex, right? So right. Had the basketball top fade when you had the hair, right?
Yeah.
Slim Jim give you a couple like 6
different
inches.
different world, and I think in sports too. When you become that star, when you become that baseball guy or that basketball guy, or the football quarterback or whatever it may be, that's that gathering of all the other people that are into that, and they kind of like, oh, you're that guy, you're dating the hot girl, the cheerleader, or whatever, you know, from back in the day. And then now you're walking through the halls and you're knocking books out of people's hands. You're doing all the little bully things. That's what it was like. But you know, my day. I'm gonna say that
the traditional bully,
right? The traditional bully.
Nutshot.
Well, so
Right.
what's interesting about what Kent brought up is the fact that because there is that evolutionary pecking order, right?
Yep.
For traditional bullying, But then you brought up cyberbullying, which is a different group of people entirely. People that are too weak in
I was just
person.
going to say weak, the
to
keyboard
pull
warrior
up-
assholes.
Right. It's the person who, if they walked up to you in the hallway and smacked the books out of your hand, they're just getting destroyed, right? Because
And
because evolutionary standpoint, they don't have the physique to pull off a traditional bullying.
Bullies are
well,
nerds.
and I think the cyber bullies are ones that are actually weak. You know what I mean?
They're
And-
nerds.
A lot of them are.
A lot of
nerds.
them are.
tough behind the
Yeah.
keyboard.
They're the keyboard warriors.
Then they
And
got your credit card number and
Right,
your
but that's-
entire life in the
that's
palm of
also
their
the
hand.
That's
those
right.
are the ones that in front of you would say nothing to you, but online, because I can't remember their name, but had somebody that the kid was doing the same thing. They were telling me the stuff that they were saying,
Yeah.
and the school did jack shit.
No, they
And I'm
call them
like,
the keyboard warriors.
Right? And it was and it was basically like, you
Well-
said they can't prove it was him, but it's like, and this poor kid over here, and it's like, and how do you explain to them, somebody that's over a keyboard that's doing that and might not even have that much interaction with you, and you put so much weight on that
So-
person's comments when really that person probably doesn't even know you. Right. I mean, and that's not uncommon for bullying because
Well-
most of the time they don't. They're intimidated by you, at
I
least
have a-
other than the pecking order.
Well,
that you're
with
talking.
the pussification of America, Don says, let me throw a truth bomb out. Some level of feedback amongst kids is helpful and developmental. Now, someone says one little thing and people are yelling, bully. It's like, nice shirt. Magnum PI called, wants it back. Scott.
Right.
And they're like, oh my God, you're bullying.
You're right, Don. I mean, we grew up in the era of mama jokes and everything else where
Yeah.
if you weren't ripping on your buddy, he would be like, I thought we were friends.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Or
that was a
sometimes
different-
you
that
would
was
go
a-
too hard at your buddy, and then he'd
Well,
get upset. You're
but
like,
I mean,
whoa, a
Well,
little.
now
I don't know what
yeah.
kids are like now, but for us back then, and even with us now, right? Like when people say something, like I might say something, offend somebody, like, listen, here's the thing: if I'm not teasing you or just messing with you, it means I don't like you anymore, right? Because I feel comfortable enough to razz you.
That's
It's
why
not-
he never calls me.
That's why I don't answer the phone on Kent either when he calls.
Right.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hey, Drew said, Don says, of course, Drew, I'm correct.
Oh, you are, Don. Congratulations, keyboard warrior.
You can stay out.
You
there
can log
Texas.
in and talk like the rest of us.
Yeah,
Like
really.
tough
Let's
guy
see your
Texas.
face and see if you're a tough guy.
Texas.
Listen,
Don't mess with
I
Texas.
teach the 3 T's in my household to my kids, and that's number one is talk. Talk to the person that's bullying you. Find out why they're bullying you. Maybe you can make a correction to that. If that doesn't work, then you got to go talk to 2 adults. Go talk to 2 adults at the school. Let them know what's happening, and see if they can help resolve it. If they don't resolve it, then take them the fuck down. That's the 3rd T.
Oh, see, I
And
was
then
going
you
to say
get- you
third is
got- you got
taekwondo.
third- you got 3 warnings, right? And then if you have to prove your point at the end, then yes.
Right.
Even if you back a raccoon into a corner, it will shred you to pieces.
Right. And that's not a bad thing to teach the
No,
kids, right?
right.
Because, with the 3 steps,
Morning,
that's a
Doc.
really good one. Like for me, we talked about it last week, right? I got bullied like crazy. And finally, at the end of it, my mom's like, you don't beat him up. I'm going to beat you
That's
up.
right.
Right. So it was a call to action for me because I did talk to her and she said, all right, well, here's your choices.
Right.
And I didn't like,
You have options.
I have and everybody does.
And there's
have options.
consequences to
Right,
those
but
options.
But
Right.
I don't even know if a lot of people even know that they have these options today. I mean, fighting is just no. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
well,
You get in so
sometimes-
much trouble. But back then, you'd fight, they'd separate you, and the one that started the fight
Yeah.
was the one that got in trouble. The one that defended himself
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, poor you." Well, hold on, let's
Right.
like in my case, I kicked the bully's ass, so I was the one.
Yeah.
I would have gotten in trouble had it been at school.
Now, do you treat it different if you have a daughter or a son? Are you teaching difference? If
No.
your daughter's being bullied, would you teach that differently than you would? a son,
I didn't. I
right?
taught him the exact same.
Okay,
You're a
so I'm
human
not in the
being- you're a
wrong
human
here.
being.
Oh, Don, what's up?
Hey, Alexis, what's up?
Hey,
man?
how you doing, Don?
So-
You have a hair?
So you got to teach
They
your
all
daughter-
have guns and
You challenged me, Drew. You challenged me, Drew. I had to show up.
The reason you got to teach your daughter differently is because high school girls get absolutely insane. High school guys fighting, it's a little bit of shoving, maybe a couple punches thrown.
Middle school, the girls become the devil in middle school.
Oh no, it's the girls.
Is that when it happens?
The girls fighting in high school, they're grabbing each other's hair, they're throwing each other downstairs,
fights
they're
are awesome.
clawing.
Girl
No,
fights
it's
are worse than guy fights.
Oh, it's so much
Next
messier.
thing you know, you got somebody's weave in your hand.
No, the first
What school did you go?
It was in Iowa. Dude.
So-
You had some nappy
I
weeds
went
going
I
on.
went to Cary Grove, a pretty good school,
Yeah.
right? The first high school fight I ever saw was a 100-pound soaking wet girl grabbed another girl by the hair and threw her to the ground, but they were fighting on the stairs. Cops came. That girl got charged with attempted murder for throwing another girl down the stairs. And I was like, what is this? What?
Way too overblown.
This is like the first week of high school for me. So I had just started.
And now Steve and Sam have been married for how many years?
right.
I fell in love with her.
That happens every night.
Don't you understand? When I beat you up, that means I love you.
As they took her out in handcuffs, I was like, I'm going to marry that girl.
Like I said, extra for that.
6 hours later, I was posting her bail, and the rest is history.
Happily ever after.
That's right.
That's right. Back in the caveman day, they grabbed the women by their hair and just drug them around. I mean, that wasn't bullying. That was considered courting.
No, now we call that rape.
Right.
Just dragging her by the hair.
Scott's on that side of the table.
Whoa,
I was
hey.
saying, allegedly.
I have the ultimate respect for that.
And
I don't get guys that can do stuff.
I'm gonna have Yoda watch you for a while.
There is something to be said though for the compassion for bullies. And I know it's hard, but like you look at it now as an adult, right? They're just kid concerns, kid squabbles. Bullying is bad in any form, right? But as an adult, you look at high school kids and their problems and like the bullying, and it's a lot easier to look at the bully and be like, I wonder what's wrong in his life. Like, let's wonder what what they need in their life.
If you can make it to the ripe old age of paying fucking taxes, you'll be like, bullying was easy.
Well,
Getting bullied was easy.
And listen, this may come as a surprise. I was small. I was never a good fighter, right? I was tiny, right? I still bully people today, all the time.
You're a ball buster.
I was going to say, I don't know if you're a bully.
I am. I say shit to people to plant a seed in their brain, and it bothers them 6 weeks from now.
Sure.
Oh, so you do that shit to me on purpose?
Yes.
All right, I'm done with this. I'm out of here. See ya.
I bully people all the time, mentally. And I do it on purpose.
Are you bullying, or are you actually trying to wake their brain up to think of things from a different perspective?
You're not intentionally.
You're not intentionally trying to harm them.
Intention is like a huge portion of the bullying.
Well, that was my point earlier, is that people today would be screaming bullying because Kent might challenge your thinking or something, or say you're wrong or something. And now today they're bullying me. That was my point earlier, is that people just, they throw it out. It's kind of like throwing out the word racism. It loses its meaning when you apply it to every single situation.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens with bullying. So it's made it a more difficult topic, because at some point when it's like, boo, bullying, it's like, I don't have time to talk to you. It's a waste of time. And I think that's where we get challenged, is just
real bullying is
definition.
done on a repetitive basis, and it's
Right,
usually
right.
the same shit.
Consistency
to the point
over
where
time.
you have broken somebody down so bad mentally to where they might even be thinking about taking their life.
Right,
But
right.
bullying can be that severe.
My nerdness is the psychological
Well,
bullying.
you like to challenge people and make people look at things differently, right? And sometimes the manner in which you do it could be, some people could construe as not even bullying, because it's not a consistent
No,
thing,
there's times though.
as a general rule of thumb, though, and I think you're looking for that reaction. Well, I mean, me as well. I mean, we're looking for that reaction, right? We're planting that seed, going, why?
If Kent knows he can
Right.
get a good laugh out of it with everybody in the room over one person, if he's making fun of you, it's done intentionally so he can be entertained.
That's true.
So yeah, there's
that's
a bit of a
Remember that old adage when we were kids?
but again,
Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Yeah.
We'll say that again, Don.
I just said, remember that old adage when we were kids? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
Which was
That's so untrue.
yeah, it was so
unfortunately.
untrue for so many.
But it shouldn't be. But it shouldn't be untrue.
I can see me as a kid right now going, just trying to chant that mantra. I'm all pissed off.
But guys, my point is, it
Will
shouldn't
never hurt
be untrue for us as individuals. If you let words hurt you, as an adult especially, then you got more serious problems than a bully trying to hurt you with some words. That's what my point is. We think we're being helpful to young people by protecting them and putting a bubble around them. We're doing the exact opposite.
I love that.
We need to toughen up people. We also need to address bullies, but we need to toughen people up and say, if Johnny called you a name, just ignore Johnny. rather than being bothered for 6 weeks because Johnny called you a name. But we would go to the school and say, Johnny called him, my son, a name, and it's terrible, and he's this and that. And we make this huge thing, and we think we're helping our kid when we do that. And I would submit to you, we're doing the exact opposite.
Yeah,
we're making him a victim and having him live in victimhood. Yeah, if you get your feelings hurt because somebody called your name, that's understandable as a kid. But I always say, we all visit pity parties. We just don't want to live there. We force many kids to live there by telling them, the sob story and, oh, that's horrible, and I understand how you feel, rather than helping people toughen up a little bit. That's my point.
Fixing it for them is not going to teach them how to deal with it.
And listen, when it comes from Don, I want you to know you heard it through the grapevine.
Oh my God!
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining, everybody.
Right.
That was a great dad joke there. That was a great dad joke there.
The idea, Les Brown is one of my favorite speakers and authors. He's a motivational speaker, and Les Brown, he says that someone's opinion, and this is what I tell my kids all the time. I'm like, someone's opinion of you doesn't have to become your reality.
Amen.
None of your business,
right? So if you're being bullied, that kid's opinion of you is not your reality.
Of course,
right? And 9 times out of 10, they're jealous of something that you have or who you are.
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to say that, and put it out there. But it's one of the best lines ever to teach a kid. It's like, listen, whether it's a teacher, whether it's the president of the United States, whether it's, the Pope, whatever, their opinion of you doesn't have to be your reality.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I do agree that we have to, and right, it's not my business what you think of me, really. That's just how that was an old.
Yeah, I
thing
can't
that I
control
was
what you
doing.
think of me.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference. We're talking about toughening up our kids, and I 100% agree with that. I do believe that there is strength in suffering.
it helps growth.
Correct. It prepares you for adulthood.
What amount of it, though?
What really gets out. The thing is, though, is true bullying, where it's you are the target. You are the target, and it's repetitive over and over again. And then it's okay. Well, little Johnny, suck it up. And he does. Then he throws on a trench coat, pulls out a 12 gauge, and goes to school.
Yes, little Johnny had some problems.
You know what I mean? So now there's no gray area, right? We just let it build like a tea kettle. So there are circumstances to where, you have to watch the red flags. And how do you find those red flags if we're just letting everybody toughen up? There is a gray area to that. When we were all kids, you're a little different generation, but when we were all kids, we were disciplined by neighbors and other friends, family friends. We were disciplined, and it was a smack. It was
never happened today.
Right. No, it doesn't happen today.
Right.
That toughness has to start at home. It has to start with the ones that love you the most, in order for you to be able to adjust in a school environment, to be able to take that ball bust or that, and then being able to, shrug it off, and then maybe become friends with the person who's ball busting you, and then grow into a clique. Because that's really, high school is just surviving it.
Absolutely.
It's just cliques. And then whatever education you get out of that, real education starts in college when it comes to real education and hands-on education in the workforce. But there is, I don't want to be misconstrued that, everybody, all these kids are just weak. Well, yeah, they might be, but they're going to miss that gray area. And then that's why we have the problems that we have today, because we somewhat let them suck it up. Buttercup rule doesn't apply to everybody.
Well, you also have to look at why are they weak?
So,
right? Because they didn't talk, right? That wasn't a subject of discussion potentially with dad friends,
Sure.
right? Like this is, I know I was told, like, younger would, like, when girls tease you or whatever, these type of things, or people hit you, they like you.
Yeah.
Right. You were explaining that. But they didn't really explain, unless you asked. I mean, why is this kid constantly bullying? Well, because he's insecure and he's jealous of you. What I mean? He's unsure of you. And it doesn't make it necessarily any easier at first, but if it's an understanding, right? Understanding things makes things a lot easier.
Listen, and here's why nerd culture today is so big, because because people got picked on. I'm not even going to say bullied. I'm just going to say picked on.
Sure.
Right? Because of the pet. That's where we have people like Bezos going, I'm going to rule the fucking world. You know what, you little pieces of shit? Go ahead, laugh at me now.
They pushed him so
Right?
hard.
And he's hired and fired probably 28 people that picked on him and bullied him.
Oh,
right?
no.
Gates the same way.
Yep.
Right? And here's what happens today in nerd culture. We call it AI, artificial intelligence. They called it AI because the people who are afraid of it, they're like, you have artificial intelligence. And the bullies now are like, oh, this is scary stuff. Can't, this is going to take over the world. They don't take any time to learn about it or anything like that, as they're driving their jacked up 4-wheel drive trucks with flags hanging off the back. And they're like, oh, that AI is dangerous.
Sounds pretty stereotypical right there. Holy crap.
Wow.
Wow, you went into real detail on that one. You had something you wanted to say. You've been etching that.
I wanted to go back to what you were saying and what Don had said. Okay, because we live in a world where, in an effort to protect our children from bullying, we did take it too far, and now we're creating children.
Can we say many people?
Many people,
because I did.
Many people
now.
Are handling children now in a way that isn't setting them up for success. However, to what you were saying, it is different for everybody, and the whole point of stopping bullying is that you don't know who it's going to affect adversely. A lot of people are just gonna be like, oh, dude, we got into it earlier, now we're friends, like, because that's how it works for a lot of people. I have friends like that, like, oh, we got into it, we shoved each other in the hall, now we're best friends. Like, cool.
You
got that aggression out.
Broke my nose.
But you also figured out why you guys were intimidated by each other, right? Like, oh, really? I thought you said this or you did that to me. Oh, dude, that wasn't you. Oh,
but see, I prefer the adage of, some diamonds are formed under pressure, but dough rises when you let it rest. Everybody is different. Not everybody is going to grow from the bullying, from the pressure, from it always comes back to, there's this kid that I think of. His name was Brandon when we were kids. And we would play with him out on the playground. He was part of our group. And we all knew something different about Brandon. This is back before the spectrum was a thing. Like, nobody knew what the spectrum was. Even if it was around, we were too young to know what being on the spectrum was. And we all went to Brandon's birthday party at laser tag. And it was his birthday. So what do? You hunt for the birthday boy, right? This kid is weeping.
Because this kid is blowing him apart.
Yeah, because we're taking him out in laser tag. And we had always acted this way with him. And it didn't register until he's crying on his birthday at a laser tag and his mom's there. And she's like, oh, yeah, well, he's going to be going to a new school at the next semester. And we're like, what? And
Why?
She's like, yeah, we're going to put him in a farm school because he got bullied.
No, I'm saying you guys are going, why?
Well, right. And we don't know.
You're the cause.
You're the cause, right?
Right.
You guys don't even realize it. You're just
and
boys.
and we're his friends at his birthday.
Think.
We're the kids invited to his birthday party. Imagine how everybody else acted toward this kid. And we just treated him like one of the group, like one of the guys. Our friend group, we all gave each other shit. We all bullied each other because that's how, at a certain point in male development, that's how you share your feelings and interact with one another, right? By giving each other shit. This kid just didn't respond to that. He didn't. And then he had to change schools and his mom had to send him to a farm school. And I'll never forget that, being like, oh, and then my mom telling me it was because he got bullied. She's like, well, yeah, he gets picked on a lot.
His parents did him a disservice on that one. They thought that they were probably doing it out of love, right?
Maybe, I don't know. But then again,
take him completely out of it and just like, don't worry about it. You can walk away from it. Right.
Yeah, but maybe
instead of dealing with it,
listen, autism doesn't work that way.
No, this kid,
he could be autistic.
Okay,
you know what I mean.
This kid weeping at his own birthday party was really a wake up call for a lot of us because we were all like, we were just having fun,
right?
And now he's crying on his own birthday because he did not handle it the same way that the rest of us handled it, and I'll never forget that.
Steve, it's his party. He'll cry if he wants.
Absolutely.
Right. But I mean, if that's the way he's dealing with it because he's on the spectrum, I get that.
But now
I have known people that have, quote unquote, normal kids.
But now he's all grown up.
Right.
He lives in Texas. He's strong as shit. Wears blue shirts. I mean,
I've gotten over it, Steve. I'm all better now.
Ice cream fixes everything. Ice cream, you scream. It gets awkward. The cops are called.
Did I mention the kid's birthday party? He was actually in his 30s. So
there you go. You want to do a shout out to Brandon real quick?
Yeah, I want to follow up on that because two things can be true at the same time. I mean, this whole idea of how we deal with it is complex. Just because I'm saying we need to help young people get over it not suck it up buttercup per se, but both things can be true. You got to deal with the bully, because if they're doing something like that, it's wrong and they need to be dealt with. But my point about someone being bullied is we have to be real careful not to make it okay to be a victim, because that's when people go into the dark places. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. No, you're not. And like Kent's point earlier, you're not a victim. That's not your reality. But one of my least favorite phrases, I hate it, is when something really horrible happens to a young child and you hear people going, oh, he ruined that kid's life forever. That's one of the cruelest things you could ever say and put on a kid. You're basically saying because something that happened to you that you had no control of, you're screwed for the rest of your life. That is the meanest thing you could say.
Yeah.
No, the answer should be something horrible happened to that kid. Now it's our responsibility as adults around that kid to make sure it doesn't ruin his or her life. But we don't do that. His life is ruined forever. My blood boils every time I hear that phrase.
Oh, sorry, Don. I had muted your mic. Could you start over?
As Drew and I over here agreeing with him, shaking our heads.
He's so mean to me. Ken is so mean to me.
The farm, this guy, he's a natural selection. He's like, you got to weed off the crowd somehow. I can already see it in his face.
Hey, judging by the number of listeners and watchers we have right now, this is
Right.
riveting.
Right.
We're irritating a lot of people. Like, oh, I can't. Ooh, they're talking about bullies. We can't turn this off. Oh,
As they're all bullies.
I don't want to I want the record to show bullies need to be dealt with strongly, and especially when it's crystal clear. But again, if somebody says boo and a kid goes crying because he got bullied, we can overreact there too. So it isn't obviously a simple issue. And like you said, Steve, well said, it needs to be dealt with differently for different kids. But I would just love to see a proper balance between dealing with the bully and not letting the kid being bullied become a victim, because that's the worst thing that can happen to him.
Well, Bob, good morning, by the way, Mom, Dad, says that, bullying does not stop in childhood. In adults, that characteristic is known by many other words. I'd kind of be interested to know what some of those words you're thinking are. And
just to follow up on that, Scott, another phrase that I heard once that I really love to hear, it's like it's what happens to us when we were young isn't necessarily what affects us. If something happened to you 30 years ago, it has no effect on you today. What affects you today is what you've told yourself about that for the last 30 years.
Yeah,
correct.
That's right.
Correct. Because
the incidents 30 years ago, it has zero effect, but we've told ourselves I'm dirty, I'm nasty, I'm terrible, I'm unworthy, blah, blah, blah. You tell yourself that long enough, you're going to start to believe it. And that's what I mean by we got to try to make sure that doesn't happen when something bad, tragic happens, so that they don't ruin the next 30 years. Bad experience, let's do our best to deal with it, but let's not have 30 years of pain because of something that happened 30 years ago. And I've seen that with so many people.
I 100% agree. But instead of you can't go through. You got something going on over there. I was just gonna say you can't go through life identifying as a victim. I agree. Right. That's not a good thing. But you do have to be able to stop bullying effectively.
Amen.
Stage in your life as an adult, as a child, whatever.
Yes, you do.
To identify when you are the victim, just not make that your personality. So you have
to do both.
Hey, this is happening to me, and Drew knows you. I'm sure I don't know what you've been up to since high school, but you seem like you've probably mostly always been your own boss. But there's a lot of bullying in workplaces. That
no doubt.
It happened to me as recently as a year and a half ago. I've it changes
forms. Rhymes with run single.
It changes forms, and it doesn't look like traditional bullying,
right.
but it's the same exact. I have power over you, so I'm going to exert said power to make myself feel better.
Right,
happens across.
Yeah, right, and it's intimidation is bullying too.
All right, Ken, you scratching your beard over there?
Yeah, no. Listen, something that happened to people 30 years ago is why we have some of the best inventions and things today. Right?
That's true.
Is why we have some of the best corporations and nonprofit organizations. So we can play both sides of that coin without something happening to a kid 30 years ago where it just ate at him and goes, you know what? I'm going to create this.
Yep.
You know what?
Well, there's two.
It can work out for good. Yeah, it can work out for good.
there's two ways to take like bullying. You can either let it affect you, right, for the rest of your life, or it can, push you to action, right, to change and to do things. You're talking about these guys like Bezos and stuff like that. He went, I don't know what his childhood was, but he had the choice as a kid, if he was being bullied, to let it affect him for the rest of his life and be a 9 to 5 or working at some shitty job, or I'll show you guys, and this is what I'm going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just want
to say that's the third time Scott's phone is ringing. He's paid attention to it. I sent him a call yesterday. Nothing.
Yeah,
no. Everything out on me. That's why.
You're not even a second thought right now.
He's the first thing on my mind right
now.
I
called you. You didn't even call me back. And Kent's like, well, what the hell is that all about? Scott goes, well, I'm here now. What do you want?
I feel like I'm torturing. I'm bullying him by not answering the phone.
But here's what I'm saying. There isn't when you're outside of when you're bullying. There isn't more than one. There's one way to handle it, and that's however you handle whatever situation in that moment. A lot of times in shows like this and therapists or whatnot, it's like, hey, 30 years from now, you might be walking on the moon, allegedly, right? But the idea, yeah, sprinkle that up. But the idea is, no, there's only one way that your person is going to handle being bullied, right? You're either going to internalize it or you're going to snap. That's just the way it is, right? You're gonna cry. So right. I disagree that there's more than one way. I don't think so. It's like, how many times have you stepped out of an argument and gone, oh shit, I should have said this?
Okay, mate.
Oh, I don't have enough time to count those.
You handled it in the moment.
All the time.
In the moment.
You only got one shot, originally.
Now,
like, why the fuck did I?
Now,
damn it.
That may have laid in my subconscious and on my heart for 30 years, and that's when I decided to, take over the world. What are we going to do today, Pinky? Same thing we do every night, Pinky.
Right. Growing up in the Italian household, cousins, uncles, family, direct family, you were bullied consistently.
That was a sign of love.
Right. It was a sign of love. So we were always going to take it.
What's the matter for you?
It was like,
I love you so much.
Ken can fuck up a 2-car parade. Does that shirt come in men's sizes? God didn't know that he had leftover parts when he made you. It was consistent.
Why do you look at Steve when you say that?
Well,
because he already
now he's offended.
me.
I go to the young one, and all of a sudden he's offended.
What do you mean old parts?
I like your hat. What happened to your head?
Right. It's under my hat. That was horrible. Keep trying though. That's what we did for love. That's what we did for fun. That's what we did for love.
But did your family kind of let you know that though, or is it just it happened? I mean,
in action, yes.
Right.
In action, yes. Well, first of all, my family, number one, there was never a day where they didn't say "I love you."
Right, which is very
important.
Yeah,
they would beat you down verbally. I've been beat physically, spatulas, grandmas. I mean, listen, different world, different time
in the day, that
different
was
family,
and
everybody listened. Grandma was the power, right? So It was, you saw that spatula coming from across the room, and everybody would be like Matrix style back, because it's coming to you, and you better take it because if it misses, you're in real deep shit, right?
Or you stick your hand in the way,
right. Right. Well, I'd be lucky with that, trust me. But now. At home, it's 5 more minutes. 5 more. Okay, Tommy, you can have the 5 minutes. You know what? It's like, no, it's bedtime. It's bedtime, right? We were told something. We listened because there were consequences for not listening or for our actions.
Right.
That doesn't exist, and this is where I think Don's really kind of coming into play when he says this discipline is important. 100%. And I think that. In school, if you were the nerd, and I loved it because last time I told you, I've been kicked out of several Catholic schools. But there was one at St. Nick's. There was this kid, the new kid that came in, and he was a little scrawny kid, messed up hair all the time. And of course, the uniforms, the gold shirt with the navy blue pants and the hardened shoes. We had to wear uniforms.
That's what I wore.
And stuff.
That's what I wore.
He wasn't of hygiene all the time, and he was that kid. Huh? And then the big kid in class who liked to pick on everybody. pushed him too far. Oh, it was the funnest thing to watch this little kid get him in a chokehold and choke his ass out in the hallway. Get up calmly without losing his shit and just walk away.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is my new friend. So
Jeremy spoke in class that day.
right,
Well, see, so this is the problem that I'm having though. Because, everybody reacts to conflict the same way, and your reaction to conflict is how you handle conflict, and that's very true. Like I don't handle conflict extremely well. I'm more just shut down and stare until it's over. So if somebody's getting loud and like out of sorts, I'm just like, really, I kind of just stare them down. Like I'm not engaging at all. Like I don't get confrontational. But when you teach a kid, the only way to handle a bully is to punch him in the face or put him in a chokehold, right? Now, what happens when they're bullied as an adult and they put somebody in a chokehold or punch them in the face? Now they're getting arrested. It's not just getting in trouble with the teacher. Like you said, whoever started the fight gets in trouble with the teacher.
Right. It just means you're not smart about how you do it.
And that's true too. But okay, you're a bully, you're getting bullied, right? Somebody comes up to you, your blood pressure goes up, you're not in the clearest state of mind,
you're seeing
and you
red.
are going to handle that conflict. How you handle conflict,
red.
It's ingrained, because you're seeing red. Your anxiety's at the limit. You've got your fight or flight is going off. You've got all of these juices flowing through your body. Now you're basically a superhero with clouded judgment, right? Your body's like completely tensed up, right? You gotta hope that you're not teaching kids to just go out there and slug people in the face. Talking it out 100%, like you said. That's step one. Yeah. That's step one. And if somebody's really that much of a jackass that they're going to force a physical confrontation, then they most likely will do so first. And as an adult, somebody starts a physical confrontation with you. Obviously, you can't just let people.
Yeah, my dad being a minister for a long time, always said, turn the other cheek. They hit the other cheek, kick their ass.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense, right?
Well, which is true. I mean, listen, even I've had friends. I had a friend in high school that, and this will kind of maybe go against the grain about what you said a little bit.
No, let's hear it.
But, if there was a situation, he would throw me his wallet and said, going to jail today, and then go handle his business. Gave me his wallet to bail him out. Right.
How many times did you have to bail him out?
It wasn't that he was seeing red. He just had enough. He thought clearly. It was premeditative, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He was just done.
It was just done. Somebody fucked up that bad. And he warned him a few times. Right.
Yep. So Spencer, my son, 30 years old, he defends our country, the Navy. And
Spencer.
one of the biggest nerds you'll ever meet. And I say that with all the love in my heart, right? And he was being bullied in middle school, to the point where he and I would talk. I'm very open with my kids, So I said, well, here's what you're going to do. Now that you're at this point, when this kid knocks your books out of your hands, don't fight him in the hallway. Tell him after school, right over here, let's go. And I go, but here's what I want you to understand. You might get your ass kicked. But that kid's going to respect you because you're going to give him a fight.
Right. Because I was going to say you're standing up for yourself instead of just walking away.
Spencer, the kid knocks the books out of his hands or whatever. And the kid's in the hallway going, let's go, trying to scare Spencer. So Spencer goes, how about after school, back here by the garbage can or whatever, right?
The flagpole at 3
wherever he
o'clock.
said.
Right.
Spencer just looked right at him and goes, fine, I'm done with this. We'll do this after school at this location. I'll be there.
Yeah.
My son showed up, right? Kid didn't.
No, of course not.
Kid showed up. Kid didn't.
Yeah.
Right. But I never got bothered by the kid. I'm not saying to stand up, but I didn't tell my kid, you handle it first.
Yeah.
But then if it gets to that boiling point, go, okay, we're going to throw fists, but understand, you might get your ass kicked. You might get your ass handed to you. You got to be ready for that beating. Right? Because it could be a badass. I don't know.
Sure.
Well, thanks. My mom didn't tell me that. She just said, if you don't kick his ass, I'm going to kick your ass.
Right.
So it's like, definitely don't want my mom kicking my ass. So
my dad.
and from
I
that
love your
day
mom
though,
for having bigger balls than you.
and from that day, from that day on, I never got picked on.
But what I'm saying is, Steve, is as you grow and you deal with these things, today's a different day, right?
Yeah.
I could look at Drew picking on me in the hallway in middle school and go, listen, I'm going to meet you back by the garbage cans and we're going to go. And I'm back there and I'm like, all right. And Drew pulls out a gun. Because that shit happens today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's fair fights no more.
100%.
Right.
And it's not to say I didn't get into
That's a Texas move right there.
It's not to say that I didn't get into physical altercations in school, because everybody has to with bullies. Oh, at some point, you're probably going to have to. Not everybody can be reasoned with. Not everybody can be talked to. And my dad showed me a move when I was a kid. He goes, if they go to push you, if they put their hands on you, you grab their hand, step on their foot, grab the back of their head, and then just shove with your entire body, and they go flying. Yeah. And it 100% works every single time. The more momentum that they are coming at you with,
shoving them, or you're pulling them through.
You're pulling their arm forward while stepping on their foot, and then shoving the back of their head.
So their momentum. Yeah, that's a Tai Chi shit.
I've done that. I've done that probably 6 times in my life. Yeah. Every time to somebody who was giving me grief. And every time, I never got in trouble once, and it did handle the situation.
The non-lethal,
they're not ready for it.
He learned that from his girlfriend who threw that girl down the
stairs.
Right.
Yeah.
That's his wife now.
Every time Sam gives me trouble, I grab the arm, back of the head,
get back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Some people pay extra for that. Once again,
and that's a good reason that a lot, it's having some type of training like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To understand using that person's force,
but usually,
because then the violence really doesn't happen. Because you do that to a bully, they're like, "Uh-oh."
Listen, here's we're on the back end of this.
Holy shit!
We got about 3 minutes. Nerded out here on this, but here's the thing that I want to say after these 2 weeks is look, whoever you are, wherever you are, you need to embrace nerd culture, right?
Yeah,
and because it's ruling the world. You're right. It's just there's scientists that are creating things.
I think it always has.
It's driving all the dollars right now.
And I'm not saying that's a good thing. But here's what I'm saying when it comes to the bullying part of the nerd culture is, it's our scars that give us character and build. Right. And emotionally, physically, whatever. But again, somebody's opinion of you doesn't have to be your reality.
That's right.
And that's what I have to say about this. But I nerd out. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I get into it. I have had people say, "Ooh, well, I didn't like this season of The Mandalorian." I'm like, "Oh no, Mandalorian's badass, right?"
Awesome entertainment, no matter how you look at it.
You and I were nerding out a little bit on the Umbrella Academy, right?
Oh yeah.
And how upset I was at the way it finished. I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but I was like, come on,
everybody dies. Right. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. But I think everybody now today has nerd in them. You just got to kind of let it out and let it bubble and enjoy it and not try to hide your nerdness. Because, I said it's, I was in basketball games in college, standing next to a 6'4", basketball player, built like Phil Wallace. And, they might've dunked on me or something. And then I look at them at the free throw line and go, listen, I'm not good with names, but I never forget a face. And one day you'll work for me.
Right.
That's a Northwestern cheer, that I posted earlier.
Yeah. Well, like Deidre posted a little bit earlier too. She just said, because my wife is the ultimate nerd and I love her to death, but for many, many years, because of the stigmatism, I guess people put on that word nerd, she didn't want to be. And now that she's embraced her nerd,
your nerd.
That's
hot too. If
right.
Women,
but she has really blossomed. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because she is so awesome at what she does.
Now her nerdness owns a sex toy store.
That's right.
Yeah. One time at band camp means a whole different thing.
That's right. But you know what I mean? She embraced her nerdiness and what her passion is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And not letting other people look. And she's just she's blowing me out of the water. Like every time I think about the things that she's doing now or we're doing now and where we've come from, it's been probably the biggest blessing that I've gotten from her, right? Or that she could give herself, right? To actually embrace that. And because I was, same way. And she did it.
Well,
and it's just
I know that we need to wrap this up. So before we go, what advice would you give anybody out there that's being bullied? Make it quick too.
Realistically, honestly, just talk to somebody, let them know, because you might be taking it the wrong way. You might not, right? Because perception does become realities in a lot of people's ways. So if you are being bullied, talk to somebody, regardless.
Yeah, be yourself, rely on your support group. 100%.
Yep.
100%. But don't let it change you. Don't let it affect you.
Don't
stop being you.
Right. Don't think there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you.
Everyone gets bullied at some point. I think telling kids that everyone gets bullied at some point is extremely important.
It makes them not feel alienated.
My advice would be, if you're being bullied,
Don't hang out with
don't
kids.
become the bully to somebody else to make yourself.
Mhm.
And that's very easy to
Kent,
do.
what do you got? And wrap it up.
Listen, hey, like I said, don't let somebody's opinion of you become your reality. And listen, it's a holiday weekend. Enjoy the holiday weekend. Labor Day is huge. Steph and Joe is going to be a best of today. They're taking time for their labors, and just remember, a dude doesn't come back and ask for another swift kick in the nuts.
Thanks for joining, Don. We appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, Dom.
Always
Hey, love you. Good topic, guys. Good discussion.
Any
Really
advice, Don?
enjoyed it.
Don, any advice?
Well, mine would be more for the parents than it would be for the kids in dealing with bullying. It's like, make sure that your kids can speak to you about it. Is probably, and that's easier said than done as a dad that raised three kids. But
So
just
beat up
do everything you can to make sure they talk to you.
Good advice.
So
Love it.
What Don is saying, my dad can beat up your dad.
Right.
Everybody enjoy. Have a happy Labor Day.
Yep.
Look, next week is Man Camp. We will not be here next week, so don't tune in because we'll be nerding out at Man Camp.
Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate everybody. Go out there, like, share, subscribe, and hey, be the change you want to see in the world. And always talk to people. Don't hold it inside.
Peace.
There's other ones.